بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وبارك على الأشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we have reached now Hadith al-Sadis, and in some nusakh, in some copies, referred to as Hadith Sabi as well, because there's two narrations. And even though these two narrations refer to the same thing, then each of those narrations, Allah Ta'ala knows best, they have different wordings, or significantly different wordings. And so, the first is the Hadith of Abū Hurayrah رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إذا شرب الكلب في إناء أحدكم فليغسله 7. وحديث المسلم أولاهن بالتراب. The first of them بالتراب. So the first narration mentions, a narration of Abū Hurayrah, that if the dog drinks from the utensil of one of your utensils, then wash it 7 times. And then the Muslim, the wording in Sahih Muslim, mentions the first of them with the turab, the first of them with the earth. Then after that we have the hadith of Abdullāh ibn Mughaffal, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال: إذا ولغ كلب في إناء فاغسلوه 7 وعفروه 8 بالتراب. And so the first narration mentions, or the second narration there mentions, that if the dog was to lick inside the utensil, then wash it 7 times. And thereafter, cover it for the 8th time in the turab, yani using the earth. As for the narrator of this hadith, or the first hadith, the narrator is Abū Hurayrah anhu, and as is mentioned previously, we've gone through his tarjuma anhu. We went through his biography previously in the second hadith. As to the narrator of the second hadith here, then it is Abdullah ibn Mughaffal al-Muzani. Abdullah ibn Mughaffal al-Muzani. And he was from amongst those that gave the bay'ah, or bay'at al-Ridwan, تحت الشجرة, under the tree. And he was regarded as being from the fuqaha amongst the companions. And he was from those that Umar ibn Khattab during his Khilafah sent to Basra in order to be from amongst the fuqaha in Basra, in Iraq. And he, radiallahu anhu, died in the year 59 after the Hijrah. Thereafter, the meaning of this hadith, or what we understand from this hadith, is how to wash the answer, how you wash the utensil, or generally how you wash something and purify something that has been touched by the dog. And some of the mufradat to this narration. Now, some of the mufradat to this narration is shariba, the first word shariba, the person or the creature in this case the dog takes in the water or that which is like it from liquid, and so consumes water or liquid. Al-kalb is the haywan ma'ruf. And due to the fact that this narration mentions the word al, or mentions the letter al within it, then it is something which is comprehensive of every dog. Anything, any creature, any animal, يطلق عليه اسم الكلب, any animal which is given the name, kalb, dog, and is referred to as a dog, then it enters into the rulings of this particular narration. Barakallahu feekum. Thereafter we have the word in فَلْيَغْسِلْهُ, then wash it. This ghusl here, or this word in here referring to the ghusl, has the lam, and it's the lam al-amr, in that the fi'l after it is an obligation. There's an obligation that the person adheres to the fi'l, to the action after it. Thereafter it mentions sab'an, that the washing is done 7 times. And the first of them, ulahun, the first of them being in the turab. And within the narrations it mentions bit turab, with the ba, referring to the fact that it is done with the turab, with the earth. The word walagha, referring to the action of the dog, walagha, then this is in reference to the dog placing the end of its tongue within the utensil and thus moving it. What we refer to as licking something, the end of the tongue and then moving it. Thereafter, the final word mentioned here is عفروه, أدلكوه بالعفر وهو التراب. That the person, they cover it with the earth. On that first time. Well, that's I knows best. That's what the meaning of this hadith. Then Sheikh Ahmed al-Najmi, raḥimahullāh, he mentions أمر من أوجب الله طاعته والذي وصفه في كتابه بأنه يجزء عليه ما أعنت أمته والولغ قلب في إنائه أن يغسل الإناء الذي ولغ فيه الكلب 7 غسلات. 7 غسلات. And so Allah Ta'ala, in which no doubt He's made an obligation, He's made it obligatory upon us to obey Him. And He has commanded us with, and His ummah in general, to wash the utensil in which the dog has licked within. So that utensil in which the dog has licked, then it should be washed 7 times. The first of them is the turab. The first of them is with the earth. And if it's not the first time, then it can be done on the 8th, so after the 7th. Why? لأن الكلب نجس. The dog is najis. And so by way of its mouth touching something, then this is a direct entering of the impurity. And the mention of the turab, the soil or the earth, the mention of that is due to the fact that the turab has properties within it that aid with purification. And so we know, for example, when we purify ourselves as individuals, the asl is that we use what? Water. However, it's permissible, or in certain circumstances, it's permissible to purify using a turab. For example, a tayammum. And so we understand from that turab in of itself is something that can be used to purify. And so hence this is why it's mentioned within this narration. And within this narration, there are a few points that should be discussed. The first of them is the najasa of the kalb, i.e. the dog being impure. And the reason for that is that there's a difference of opinion amongst Ahlul Ilm, where they raise the issue that is it a case that the dog, its whole body is impure, or that is just the mouth that is impure. And so those that mention that it's the whole of the dog, and this is the opinion of the Jamhur, the opinion of the Jamhur, then they use the narration that mentions طهور إناء أحدكم تنوء إناء أحدكم إذا ولغ فيه الكلب, that the utensil of one of you, or the utensil that you have, the one that you possess, is pure. And if the dog licks within it, then it mentions the washing of it. And so, when we mention something that's tuhur, and we see the mention of something which is tuhur, then no doubt tuhur is referring to something which is in opposition to something that's najis. So if we say something is tuhur, then we know that it is the opposite of something which is najis, something which is impure. And so now, the dog, by the way, the dog licking that utensil, it becomes clear that it has left that state of tahara. It's left that state that is regarded as being tahur. Hence why, with that, we have the command to wash it. And some mention that the only part, based on this narration, the only part of the dog which is najis is the mouth, because of what is mentioned in the narration. However, what we understand from the narration, Allah Ta'ala knows best. Another point that is mentioned as to why it is the whole body is because some of Ahlul Ilm, they mention that the mouth is from the ashraf, the most honourable part of the dog. And so due to the fact that it's from the most honourable part of the dog, and we're commanded to wash based upon that, then anything ma duna dhalik, min bab awla. Anything which is lesser than that, then of course. And why do they mention it's the ashraf part of the dog, the most honourable part of the dog? Why do they mention that? Naam, that it can be qiyas upon that. Naam, what else? Hunting. That could be mentioned. Also, as well, what is understood is what is mafhum from it as well, is due to the fact that it is the furthest part of the body from where? The back. And the back side of the tail, which is no doubt understood to be from the lowly parts. And so the furthest part would then be regarded as being the first part would be regarded as being the most honourable part. Allah Ta'ala knows best. As for the amount of times it's washed, then is mentioned 7 times in the narration. And the question there lies that is it 7 times in order for it to become pure? Or is it sufficient to just wash it any more than, or wash it once, or wash it a number of times? And so again, the Jumhur, they mentioned that it is 7 times. The majority mentioned it 7 times. Why? Because this is an action which is done to ʿabdan. This is a command from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so it's done to ʿabdan, the action of ibadah. As for Abū Hurayrah raḥimahullāh, then he mentions that it's sufficient to wash 3 times. Abu Hanifa mentions it's sufficient to wash 3 times. And this is based upon the narration of Abū Hurayrah, in which it mentions the washing of the utensil 3 times. Naam, the narration mentions the washing of the utensil 3 times. However, no doubt the opinion of the Jumhur takes precedence, which is the washing 7 times. Because if you have a narration from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yani marfu', so it's a narration which is directed from the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, and thereafter you have a narration from a Sahabi, yani mawquf, then the narration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course, will take precedence, and the ahkam found there within will take precedence. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. And the next mas'ala in relation to these 2 narrations as well is in relation to the tartib, the order in which it is done. And the Jumhur again say that it's an obligation due to what is mentioned and due to the command that is mentioned within the narration, that is done in an order as mentioned in the narration. The first with the turab, and thereafter the 7. And as for the madhab of Imam Abi Hanifa, as well as the madhab of Imam Malik, then they state that this is not an obligation. Whilst it is done, they say it's not an obligation. However, again, that which takes precedence is the position of the Jumhur, due to the fact that they say that, or they're adhering to the wording of the Hadith, which is a command. And thereafter, it mentions the different as to the washing, or the washing which is done with the turab. Does this now amount to 8 times, or does it amount to, or is the turab one of the 7? And so the mention of a thamin or a thamina, this is found in Sahih Muslim. And as for the mention of the choice between the two, whether you choose between doing it first with the turab at the end, the choice between the two, then this is what is found and narrated by Imam al-Shafi'i in Kitab al-Umm. He narrates Kitab al-Umm from Abū Hurayrah. And so, and Allah Ta'ala knows best, that which takes precedence is that the washing is done at on the 8th occasion. Allah Ta'ala knows best. And finally, the Shaykh Ahmad, he mentions in relation to the kalb, the dog, eating. لو أكل الكلب من طعام جامد لا يصلي لعابد. جزاك الله خير. And so, as for if the dog was to eat from the food, then, as is mentioned as well, the person can take from that food, and it's permissible to eat from that food. And this is the position of the Shafi'iyah, because they use the hadith of the fa'ra, the hadith of the mouse. Naam. And what do you know the hadith of the mouse? When the mouse fell into the utensil and it was removed and the food was still tuhur. Likewise, along with that as well, as mentioned earlier, that the dog that has been taught to hunt, so the dog which is mu'allam, if it kills, if that dog kills the prey, then it's permissible to eat from. It's permissible to eat from, even though the dog no doubt will kill it using the mouth. So it's permissible to eat from as long as that meat is washed. Question being, what makes it permissible to eat from it? Eat the meat. What needs to be done? If you have the dog and the dog hunts the prey, when does that prey become permissible to eat from? What needs to be done? Now, then when you send that dog, you say the basmalah. So when you send the dog to hunt, you say the basmalah upon that action. And so once you send the dog to hunt and then you say the basmalah, then this, no doubt, is sufficient. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. And thereafter, the person can eat from that. Wallahu Ta'ala a'lam. And we'll conclude here with that particular narration, inshallah. And bi'idhnillah, bi'awnillahi ta'ala, continue with the other ahadith in the next hadith, which is being the sifa to the wudu, the description of the wudu, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. thereafter. Wallahu a'lam, jazakumullah khairan, wa barakallahu feekum, wa sallallahu wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.
You mentioned earlier that Imam Shafi and I believe Imam Malik have one opinion, and then you mentioned that the
Jamhur, yeah.
even generally speaking, Jamhur would be based on this more than two.
The Jamhur is generally, when we say Jamhur, then we're referring to the majority, just generally the majority. So you may find that some of the A'imma may say something, but they're in the minority. So it doesn't. There's not a particular number. It's not saying that this is the number and this is now the majority. It's just generally if you find that one of the A'imma in Farad, one of the A'imma is alone in a particular opinion, or two of them are alone in a particular opinion, then you know that this is something which is Mukhalif al-Jamhur, it is opposed to the Jamhur. Not necessarily Mukhalif al-Haqq, but it's Mukhalif al-Jamhur. Example of that is the mawqif, the position regarding the tariq al-Salah, the one that leaves the Salah. So the one that leaves the Salah, the opinion of the Jamhur is that the one that leaves the Salah takasulan wa tahawanan, so he leaves it off due to negligence or due to laziness, then the Jamhur are upon the opinion that such an individual is still a Muslim. Now, it's still in the fold of Islam. However, the opinion of Imam Ahmad is that the person has disbelieved. And so, because Imam Ahmad essentially, amongst the Imam in Farad, he was significantly alone in that opinion, then anyone else is regarded as being the Jamhur. So this is what when we refer to Jamhur. Jamhur doesn't necessarily refer to that correct opinion, but just refers to the opinion which is the stronger. No. Or the opinion which is the majority, sorry. No.
Didn't you mention in your ʿUmdatul Aḥkām class that the more correct opinion is that it's just the impurity is restricted to the mouth of the dog?
No. That was a few months ago. And so Allah knows best, but what seems to be apparent is that it is the dog, all of the dog. Allah Ta'ala knows best. And so, but then maybe we'll do ʿUmdatul Fiqh again, or we'll do Mulakhas Fiqh, and I say it's the mouth again. Hakada. Allah. But I feel most apparent it's the whole dog. Allah. Jazakumullah khair.
With regards to soil, if a person was to use like a frying liquid or something to replace that, would that be sufficient, or would it have to be?
So it's sufficient to wash the 7 times, and Allah Ta'ala knows best. And if the person doesn't have the soil, then it's sufficient to wash the 7 times. So for example, the dog licks the clothing, and then you put the clothes in the washing machine. We're not going to now say that you have to take it out and put the turab upon it. Why? Because it's sufficient. It's washed 7 times or more than that when it goes in the washing machine. Likewise, if it's a utensil and it's put inside the dishwasher, let me know it's going to be in there for a set period of time. And it's going to be washed more than those 7 times. And so we can suffice with that as well. Wallah. So, in relation to using something in place of it, it's not necessarily you have to use something in place of it. As long as it is washed those times, then it's sufficient, inshallah. No.
If you wash it in a washing machine, is each cycle of the washing machine would be understood as 1 time, or would it be 7 times, like you have to put it in a washing machine 7 times?
Not necessarily. No, you don't have to put it in 7 times. It's not necessarily each cycle, but each time, let's say the water has covered the utensil, the piece of clothing. Each time the water is covered, that's 1 time. So if you have the washing machine on, generally the washing machine is going to be on for an hour or 2. It's going to cover it a lot more than 7 times. Allah Ta'ala knows best. No.
As for regarding it being done the 8th time, so would they not leave it now in a state of kind of dirty?
No.
Impure, but as in,
Because the question is, what is dirt? You understand? What the concept of dirt is one which is, if you're talking about shara'i, then it's not dirty. Whether you like the taste of soil, that's another thing altogether. But shara'an, it's not dirty, so you can use it. We're talking about purifying it from purifying it from the saliva of the dog. And thus, this is why maybe you'd wash it first time with the turab anyway. Wash it first time, then you wash it thereafter with the water. But then you don't have the soil as well. No.
How do you make jump between Muslim, Abū Hurayrah said that you wash it the first time with soil, and then the narration of Abdullah ibn Mughaffal, where he mentioned the 8th time. Is it the case that it's not necessarily the last time, the 8th one, or how do you
Yeah, and what we understand is that is as mentioned, Sheikh Ahmed mentions that the person has ikhtiyar. He has the choice. Now, if there's a choice with this time and this one, both of them are sahih. So the person has the choice between this and that. No. Barakallah feekum. جزاكم الله خير. الله يحفظكم الله. صلى الله وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.